Hey everybody, JCB here at the Awesomist, and you're watching the Awesomist Reviews. It's been a while since I've done an Awesomist review, so I figured what better way to fill in the gap than to do a 3-in-1 episode. So today I'm going to be reviewing 3 items I purchased from the Geek App. Now, as always, there's been no sponsorship deal, and I'm not affiliated at all with the company or the app or anything like that. This is just my honest opinions about 3 products that I purchased with my own money. So what are these 3 products? First up is this magnetic phone charger for Android phones that I got for $1. This is everything that comes in the package. A wire with a magnetic connection on the one end and a standard USB connection on the other. This piece goes into your phone's charging port like any other charger, but can be pulled off easily. The benefits of this are threefold. 1, if someone or something happens to snag your charging cable as you're using it, the magnet disengages and no damage is done to the charging cable, or more importantly, your phone. It's like the MagSafe chargers that were a staple of the older MacBooks. 2, having the magnetic plug on your phone at all times prevents one of the most prominent problems facing smartphones, that is pocket link clogging the charging port. And of course 3, you can quickly attach and detach on the fly. There is no worry about the plug being oriented the correct way, nor any concern over yanking the cable out of your phone too abruptly when you're in a hurry. So that's 3 very positive features of this charging cable. Unfortunately, I also have 3 more than minor complaints. First off, the plug has this little green light which is on all the time, even when it's not attached to the phone, and it's pretty goddamn bright. You can tape over it, but it just seems like a useless, unnecessary thing to include. I could almost film my videos using nothing but this light. Jeez, that's bright. Second, that little plastic thing you saw in the bag, that's the only way to get this plug out of your phone when you don't want to use it anymore. Sure, any thin, sturdy object will work, and I appreciate it being a nice snug fit, seeing as it's designed to stay in your phone all the time. But just a little grippy section so we could pull it out with our fingers would have been a much better way to handle this. Now you might be asking, why on earth would you want to take it out of your phone? I mean, why would you want to go back to a standard charging cable after using this thing? Well, the reason is my 3rd complaint, and really the biggest beef I have with this charging cable. This thing charges so fucking slow. I wanted to be thorough, so over the course of 4 days, I did 4 distinct tests. I basically ran my phone all the way down to 0 on purpose, and then charged my phone with the 3 different cables that I own. Now, why 4 days and only 3 cables? Well, I wanted to be sure the result I was getting with the magnetic cable was right and not just some fluke, so I did that test twice. I have a Samsung phone, so for all 4 tests, I used the same standard issue Samsung adaptive fast charging wall adapter and the same exact phone, which all 4 times was stone dead and charged while turned off. The first cable I tested was this sort of standard USB charging cable I got at Target or Big Lots or someplace like that. It probably costs somewhere in the $7 to $10 range, and it's your average cell phone charging cable, nothing special about it at all. The result was my phone went from 0% to 100% in just a little over an hour. It's about 67 minutes or so, which isn't bad and gives us a nice baseline of what can be expected. The second test was with the standard Samsung charging cable that comes with my phone, which by the way is a Galaxy S6 Edge. This wire and wall adapter combination allows the phone to go into fast charging mode, which of course blew the other cable away. My phone went from 0 to 100% in just a little over 20 minutes. That's insane. The 3rd cable I tried was a magnetic USB charger I got from the Geek App. Again, I used the same wall adapter and charged the phone with the power off. I ran that test 2 days in a row, and both times the phone went from 0 to 100% in 2 hours and 16 minutes. That's why someone might want to stop using this thing. It's so goddamn slow. It's a trickle charge at best. Anyway, don't waste your money on this thing. It's garbage. Now we're gonna go ahead and test a product I only bought because I was pretty sure it's bullshit. This is supposedly a USB thumb drive to auxiliary cable adapter for your car. I kid you not, that's how it was advertised. Supposedly, you can fill a USB thumb drive with music, plug in this aux cable to your car stereo, and it'll play the songs. Now I don't know what audio files this thing supposedly supports because you can't find that information anywhere in the product's description. So I decided to try MP3, M4A, WMA, Ogg Vorbis, Wave, and FLAC just to be safe. I'm also going to test this on 2 different car stereos. First on my wife's car's stock stereo, which supports playback via MP3 CD, as well as analog audio via the auxiliary port. And second, my band van and its aftermarket stereo, which supports MP3 CD as well, plus auxiliary port and USB thumb drive support right there on the front. The fact that these 2 stereos already support MP3 decoding and the van's already has built-in thumb drive support makes me optimistic enough to bother wasting my time on this. Now you may notice I sound a little skeptical of this thing, and that's because I don't think there's anything to it. I'm pretty sure this is just a wire attached to a little plastic box with a USB connector inside. In order for this thing to work, it would have to have an entire media player embedded inside this little plastic shell, and that would be pretty impressive. It would at least have to have something like the ADC chip that is embedded in the iPhone 7's lightning to headphone jack converter. Something like that would be required in order to turn the digital audio files into an analog signal that the auxiliary port can understand and use. But fitting a media player inside this housing would be quite the engineering accomplishment, and I don't think the resulting product would only cost $1. The other issue I have is the complete lack of a power source. Assuming you found a super affordable way to put an entire media player inside this housing, how is it powered? Any included batteries clearly unable to be replaced or recharged, there isn't any place to plug in a power adapter, and there isn't anywhere near enough power present in an auxiliary port to run anything of any significance. Even something as insignificant as that bright green LED on the last product would be too much to run on the energy present in an auxiliary port. And lastly, even if someone did achieve these amazing feats, a super affordable and small media player that can fit inside this housing and is powered off of the very negligible power inside of an auxiliary port, there's still the issue of controlling said media player. There are no buttons on this device, no way to skip ahead or pause. Now I suppose in theory you could use the controls on the stereo to control the media player in the cable, which could again, in theory, be passed back to the embedded player via the second ring on this plug, which is typically used for microphones, but is often used for playback controls with certain brands of headphones plugged into certain brands of smartphones. But again, I suspect there is nothing inside this thing except for a couple of wires soldered to a USB connector. But let's go ahead and do the completely pointless test of connecting this thing to some car stereos. And here we go. It's plugged into a thumb drive. Plug it into the stereo. We got nothing. Nothing at all. And let's try this one. It's plugged into the thumb drive. Plug it into the stereo. Surprise, surprise, nothing. Doesn't even seem to know it's connected. So there you go, this thing's garbage. But let's pretend for a moment that it wasn't sold as a car stereo accessory. This is basically just a USB to TRS adapter. Let's pretend it was designed to transform a USB cable into a 3.5mm aux cable. Of course, I would need two of these things in order to attach one to each end of my USB cable, and where am I gonna get one of those? Boom, I already got it right here. So let's go ahead and hook this thing up. Now, again, it was never advertised to actually work this way. I'm just kind of grasping at straws at this point, trying to find some use for this stupid piece of junk. So let's connect these two USB to 3.5mm adapters to my USB cable. Now I'll just try to play something from my phone into this portable speaker. Oh my God! Of course that works. Of course the most convoluted, nonsensical purpose I could think of for this thing actually works. Now this would actually be a cool cheap converter for the iPhone 7, which no longer has a headphone jack, if the new lightning cable actually just used two of its wires as the black and red connections that normally go on the end of a TRS jack. But of course that's not the case. Like I said, garbage. Anyway, lastly, I went ahead and spent $10 and bought myself a waterproof case for my GoPro. Now I know you might be thinking, why on earth would I put my $400 GoPro inside of a $10 case I bought off the Geek App? Well, I'm not stupid. I don't plan on going scuba diving with this thing. I mostly bought it just to protect my camera from unexpected splashes and spilled drinks and things like that. And even a $10 piece of crap ought to be able to protect it against that stuff, right? Just to be safe, I'm going to conduct a test before I put my GoPro inside this case. For this test, I will cut a sponge so that it fits inside of my case. Then I'll seal it up and submerge it to see if the sponge absorbs any water. Then and only then will I test it with my actual camera. I don't see any bubbles. It doesn't look like the sponge is getting any darker in color. Let's open it up. Just to be safe, I will dry the outside first. I don't want any outside drops accidentally touching the sponge. Wow, it's completely dry. Okay, so that's great. But what's a real world scenario that I could test this thing in? I got it. I'm actually going on a cruise in a couple of days, and there's a pool on the boat. So I should be able to put my camera inside of the case and then dunk it in the pool and see if it works. So yeah, stay tuned next week for that video and see what happens when I put my camera inside the pool. To be continued. I'm just fucking with you. I already went. Just to be clear, my travel vlog cruise video will be up next week if you're interested in that. But as for this case, it works great. I submerged it in that pool and not a single drop of water got inside with my camera. I'm really happy with this product, and it's the only one of the three I would recommend. So that's my review. If you need a waterproof case for your GoPro and you don't plan on going 40 meters below the surface, go ahead and pick this guy up for 10 bucks. It's definitely worth it. As for the other two products, I wouldn't touch those. The 10-foot pole, they're basically garbage. So what do you think? Would you buy this? Do you want to try any of those other pieces of crap I tried? And are there any products out there you'd like me to review? If so, let me know down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as that does help me out a lot. And until next time, keep being awesome.
Do you like books? Audible.com is a website where you can have books read to you like you're a stupid child who doesn't know how to read, and it's time for Mimi Nine Nights. The best part is, if you visit audible.com/seriously I just watched an ad at the start of this video, now I have to watch another in the middle of it? Are you fucking kidding me? You'll get one free audiobook, which is great because most are like $30. Seriously? $30 for a book? You know Barnes & Noble is still a thing, right? And that I know how to read? Jesus.